Are we really on episode 3?
I think so.
Oh my goodness. How did
We haven't quit yet?
No. We
We
haven't.
still like each
Maria.
other?
Oh my gosh. Friends
Maria.
for life.
No.
Maria.
No.
That
I
hurts
be
my
getting-
feelings.
I get annoyed easily. Did y'all know that?
No.
Yeah.
Have
I've
you
never
been
seen you
annoyed
annoyed.
with me yet?
No. I think I
Maria.
just get like really just, I can't control y'all, so I'm just.
I think we're seeing a pattern.
I know. She tried to give us the rundown, before. Well, and I'm like, no, it's raw and real. You got this,
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah.
And you've done good.
Yeah.
Raw and real, girl.
Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of us.
We are. I'm so proud. We're doing this,
Episode
so that's good.
I love it. Welcome back to Got Her Back.
I got your back. Got your back.
I got your back too. I don't know about this episode. It could get a little deep, but we're going over daddy issues.
I don't know. We've been through the holidays and through everything else. I got to spend some time with my dad.
Woo.
And y'all know you've met Dean. You met Dean. You have not
No.
had
But
the
why do you
pleasure
call your dad
of
by his
meeting
first
Dean.
name?
Well, because Dean is something special.
Dean is a whole personality.
He's a whole vibe.
He's a vibe. Okay. So, Dean is, I don't know. I just call my dad Dean.
Hey.
We call him Dean, Dino, but definitely not dad. No, he's funny. He's funny. So I grew
He's
up.
raw.
That's
Funny.
a great word for
Okay.
Dean. Megan, so one day I had to run an errand and go down there, which was really funny. Megan and I had already been friends for years. I mean, this was last year. And I had to go buy some groceries and take them down there, like a family emergency and stuff like that. And she happened to call me and she's like, hey, I was like, no, I gotta go to Dean's. I gotta pick up some groceries. I gotta take them to Dean's. And they live like an hour and a half away. She was like, oh, I have nothing to do today. So let's go get some groceries and go to Dean's. I'm like, no. We don't take anybody to Dean's. Did I not?
You did. Oh my God.
We do not take the people that we love to Dean's. Like Dean's is,
So you don't
What
love
did
me because I've never met Dean.
Well,
oh, I love you because I haven't taken you to meet Dean. One day, I mean, I think that now that I know you, I feel like you would get it.
Okay.
I feel
What'd
like
I
you
tell
would
you?
get
Do you
it.
remember
I
what I
feel like
told
you would
you?
be fine.
do you remember what I told you that day? I'm like, girl, it's no big deal. I was raised in a trailer house. Let's do this. Come on.
I mean,
Let's go.
I love my dad. I love every part of my dad, but my dad, I have to decompartmentalize my dad. My dad is this guy from my childhood, and then he's this guy from my adulthood. And I have
Explain.
to I have to make him two people to be okay with him.
It was that
I
bad.
don't know. I just
No,
had a
just go
really
ahead.
rough go at it. But I completely forgive him. I don't want to go too much into him because I realize now he grew up and he is the way that he is because of the way that he was raised. So I just think grace, as I've gotten older, has allowed me to be okay, and I met his dad. I had a chance to meet his dad as an adult, and then it was all came full circle to me to be oh, I get it.
I get it, but I'm gonna push you a little harder.
Okay.
I know you don't really want to go here.
Oh,
But
okay.
since I know, I'm gonna push a little bit harder.
Okay.
Tell me
I'm
about
nervous.
your childhood and why you compartmentalize your dad. Because I'm super I'll tell you as your friend,
Mhm.
I tell you all the time, I can't believe that you can even love or be around your dad
Mhm.
from the stories you've told me about your dad when you
Mhm.
were little. And
Yeah.
it was just a lot of abuse.
Yeah.
A lot. And so
Not abuse to me.
No.
I want to say that he has never. I've never had a spanking in my life. Can you believe that?
As a big rebel as you are, you've never had a spanking.
I've never had a spanking in my life. Swear.
Maybe I
Now,
need to
might
spank you.
this year. I am interested. Let's just say that I'm toying with the idea, but I've never ever have I ever been abused or anything like that, by my parents. But there was lots of infidelity and affairs and abuse and stuff like that, with my mother. And I have lots of sisters, and I'm smack dab in the middle. So all of the hard times, I feel like, were in my like childhood, not in my youngest sister's childhood, not in my older sister's childhood. They were, safe from it for the most part. And it was all like more like my era. You know what I mean? Like that's when my parents were in the thick of it, like hard times in their marriage and things like that. So it was like me and my mom, like rallying together. So I would say like that would be like the gist of it. But like when I look at my dad now, I don't see the same person as I saw when I was little.
Mm-hmm.
I see like somebody completely different. I see that he's grown and changed. And he's had lots of different things happen to him that has, changed him. So I can get down with that. So I can see that people can change and stuff like that. But I also like know where to meet people,
Maria, you got any daddy issues over there? I mean, this episode's
where
called
should I
Who's
start?
Your Daddy?
Who's my daddy?
Yeah. Tell us.
you?
Who
I mean-
is your daddy?
My dad was the typical Filipino guy. He didn't leave. He basically went off to the United States when me and my mom, me and my sisters were younger.
Where did you grow up?
In the Philippines.
Mhm.
So I don't really remember a whole lot from my childhood, but what I remember is he wasn't there.
Mhm.
Only because he was working for us, And so I would say the first 6 years of my life, he wasn't fully present.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved to Germany, and then that's where we reunited, where he...
How old were you?
I was 6, almost 7 years
Mhm.
old. So can you imagine being raised without a father? And then
Suddenly you have one
suddenly I have one.
in a different country.
Yeah. And so it's not like he wasn't a father. He was working for us. And if it wasn't for him, we probably wouldn't be here, because he was in the U.S. Army. And so I was just so used to him being away. Even when we were in Germany, he was still in the military, but there were times where he would be gone for 3 to 6 months, maybe even a year. So I've always gotten used to just, I guess, being raised by
Female energy.
I wouldn't say a single mother because, a single mother is someone that, works solely and takes care of she was solo parenting. And so every time I would say he would, come home and tell me what to do, it's kind of like, whoa. Like,
who are you?
Yeah, where did this come from? I'm used to just dealing with my mom, and I think that's where we clashed a lot. Backstory. I wouldn't know if this is a backstory, but
you're a middle child too, right?
No, I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest?
I am.
It's weird.
Why
Look,
did I think that you were
oldest,
why did I think you were the middle?
Youngest.
baby.
Yeah, I'm the oldest.
We have 3 perspectives.
Why did I think you were the middle? Why did I think
No.
that?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. No, so when I was a teenager, that's when I started dating, and he was just very...
Where did you live when you were a teenager?
Indianapolis.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say he was just very firm. Like he set bound, like I couldn't do certain things. I couldn't go on dates. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. I know he was just protecting me, but it was a way for me to also like
rebel.
So I rebelled a little bit.
This
I
should be
rebelled
called
a little.
Rebel Podcast.
Yeah,
Rebel.
So I
Rebel without
rebelled
a
a little
cause.
bit to the point where all we did was argue.
Yeah.
It got so bad that we didn't talk for months. And we finally, I remember I ordered a pizza and I was like, I'm gonna make amends with my dad. So I ordered a pizza, one of his favorites, and we started, talking again, just got to a better place. And I think it was just like God's way of telling me like, you have to just do better for your father, And
How old do you think you were?
I was 16.
Yeah. And you thought that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think it was just, I don't know. He passed away 2 weeks after that.
So
my
yeah, that
goodness.
was like supposed to be.
Oh,
I was like, oh,
Maria. Are you giving us tears?
No.
Oh, yes. I love that.
And so I just feel
Maria,
like,
I've never seen this side of you.
Because she doesn't cry. She's
no,
not.
I don't cry.
Neither one of you are a crier. Oh, shoot.
I
I'm
saw
the
her cry
crier.
once in Bali.
And I just feel like, and that's why I love my husband the way I do, is because I had a father, but I didn't have a father. That makes sense. Like I
I didn't have a guy like
Well,
a
you
dad.
lost him when you were 16.
Yeah, I didn't have a dad to protect me from guys. You know, like, and thank God, I felt like my husband was God sent to me.
Because he was.
And like, he couldn't have picked the perfect husband because like,
I love that
he
for you.
is the father I've always wanted. Like, Trent is the father I've always wanted as a child, and he is that
And you get to see it with Marley and Maya.
for my kids.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Interesting.
Love that.
Yeah.
Oh, where's the tissue?
Oh my gosh.
And so I feel like that's why I'm as reserved as I am, because I had to protect myself
Mhm.
growing up.
You didn't have your dad.
No. And when Tristan was born, I felt like it was a way of like just another guy like loving me unconditionally, you know? So
Give her a hug. Get over there and give her a hug.
I'll give you
So-
Oh,
this is too soon. This is episode 3 and I'm crying.
Oh my gosh.
It's
I had no
okay.
idea though. Like I knew
Yeah.
that your father passed away, but you've always said it so stoically that you didn't really understand, you know?
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say it was issues, you know? I just feel it was like more of like the absence.
Mhm.
Even though I got used to him not being around, it's so important for a teenage girl to have their father, you know, because that's supposed to be their first love, you know, like just showing them what kind, like, I feel bad for any guy that comes up to my daughters because
I feel bad for them
yeah,
Me too.
like I feel really bad because I feel like they have so much to amount for.
But that's what you want. You want your daughters to feel so strong, so secure, and be
Yeah.
like, "Oh no, I don't need you." That it's gonna take someone like coming like full force, like meaning it,
yeah,
for it to mean anything. It can't be like settling for crumbs, you know?
And so, like, a few weeks ago, you know, Trent and I had this one-on-one talk, and he was like, I know you, but I don't fully know you.
Mhm.
And it's because I don't like to cry.
Yeah.
And here I am crying in front of you, crying of whoever's watching this. I'm crying because I just don't like people seeing my weakness because, like what I said, I've always been very defensive.
Protected.
I
Yeah.
resonate with that. I think that everyone my entire life has always like called me the strong girl, and you've been through so much, Megan, and how are you resilient? And you know, sometimes you don't want to be the strong girl.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to be like, I'm strong, like as a front, and I'm strong to protect myself. And yes, I have been through a lot, and yes, I probably will go through a lot more, hopefully, in my lifetime. But you know, that like crying doesn't make you weak. I think as I've gotten older, like I have like became like the crybaby. I have an aunt, Aunt Louise. Love you, Aunt Louise. She would cry on a drop of a dime, as my dad would say, you know, and like as I've gotten older, like I'm that mom that cries at the Christmas program. I'm that mom that cries at the band program, you know, like literally if I'm really mad, I cry, or if I'm really sad, I cry, or sometimes if I'm really happy, I cry. But I went from being like unemotional as a kid to like this like crazy crier.
And I
So-
just flip flop the other way, which is really crazy. Like I used to cry at everything, like a tampon commercial or
A tampon commercial.
like a snow globe, or like I would just like cry
yeah.
my eyes out. Like I think I cried so much that like this year, like I just can't cry.
Yeah.
Like even when I want to, I'm like, and like nothing. Like I might
Nothing
like
comes
crying
out.
out. It might get wet, but like that's it. And I think that's
Yeah.
so weird because I'm like,
Well,
what
I
is
think
happening?
you just have like seasons, right?
Yeah.
But I want Maria, you to feel like it's okay to
Yeah.
cry, right? And sometimes
I don't like to
come
cry.
on with it,
It's
Maria.
hard. I'm
Like, do you
just
think
a
I like to
woman.
like
It
not be
makes
able
you
to
like
control?
human. It makes you
Yes,
human.
Of
Like
course. Of course.
Yeah, you need to do that with your husband.
I mean, I do cry alone by myself when no one sees
I
me.
cry in the shower only.
Not true.
Yeah.
Boo. I saw both of you cry in Bali.
We all cried in Bali.
Which
Don't
is-
you think that's so crazy? I
It
just think it
is.
was the environment, like
Yeah.
how beautiful it was.
Super spiritual.
And just a beautiful trip. And like we got to see such cool things
Yeah,
and
it
experience such really cool things. Like I never thought I would be experience. So I think it's crazy that we all like cried on that trip.
It was for one reason or another, whether it was good.
There was
bad.
times I was just like looking out the window in that van and just like crying. Like I just couldn't stop it. It was wild. I was like, I don't want to ever leave.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
It was really crazy.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
I'm kind of like dreading. I've been putting off. Like I've been putting off.
Hey, you made me talk about Dean. And we made Maria cry.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to Maria for 1 second. What do you think will be the difference between the way that you are and like how protected you are? Do you think that Maya and Marley will be different, like because of the experience that they have? And I love the Shelton family. I'll just say that. I love like being at any of your holidays. I love being everything because of the male energy. Because how loving they are and how present they are with all of their kids. Like because of everything that I've been through, I think that that's special to watch them like with all of their kids. And Mr. Shelton, for sure.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Shelton's like my
He was
favorite.
like the father. I guess he kind of, filled
So
that.
I actually love being like with Mr. Shelton just because it's just such a good representation of like what a good male leader, like what comes out of that and what trickles down from all of you, like all of them. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's really cool. And to see all the boys, because it's an all boy, all male family, like I think that's cool. And I think it's cool, like even though they have lost their mother, how they still incorporate her every year and how they still show love for her every year and respect her. And I don't know, it just shows you like what that dynamic could actually lead to. So I appreciate that. And I'm sure I'm sure you feel that a million times more than I do.
Yeah.
I only get a glimpse of it, when we're hanging out on a birthday or New Year's or something like that. And I get to be a part of it, which I've always been super grateful for. But you seeing it like day in and day out, I'm sure, like not having your father and losing your father at such a young age, like what that's done for you.
It's definitely something like what I said I've always wanted. But as far as being controlled or not controlled, being, I want to give my kids the ability to express themselves.
Yeah.
I would rather know upfront what's going on versus something, it could be something, I could help prevent something, So if Tristan, knock on, is this wood? Like, let's
We'll fade
say,
it.
something happens and he gets somebody knocked up, like I would rather,
Knocked up.
yeah, I would rather know ahead of time just so I could be there for them. Like, I don't want to be that disciplinarian. I mean, don't get me wrong.
You don't
We have rules and stuff, but
you want there to be an open line of communication where he feels comfortable.
absolutely. It's not like I want to be my kids' friends. I'm not their friend. But I haven't, like me and Trent haven't gone through anything that they will go through, if that makes sense. So I just want them to be open with us so we could help avoid certain issues,
Dun, dun, dun.
so
Speaking of daddies,
I have some daddy issues.
you do?
I do.
I have no idea what you're speaking of.
Well, I had two dads. I had a real dad.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then I had a dad that raised me. And so I'm like a firm believer of like, blood. It doesn't have to be blood. You know what I mean? So starting off on my real dad, I'm a child survivor of a murder-suicide. Day of divorce, long story short.
Day of divorce.
Day of divorce. the day
Okay,
of
so I feel
court.
like I knew that they were going through a divorce, your mother and father, but I don't think that I knew that it was the day of divorce. I knew that they left the court and the courtroom told him that your mom was allowed to go in and get all of your whatever y'all needed, right?
Mhm.
Out of y'all's house.
Mhm.
And your mom took you and your sister with
No.
her.
My sister was in kindergarten, so she was in school. My mom took me. So we lived in a trailer house.
Your sister wasn't with you?
No, she was at
This
kindergarten.
whole time I thought that Stephanie was with you.
No, she's been picked up
You were by
twice from
yourself?
school for over parents that committed suicide. It's super sad.
You were by yourself on the porch?
I was.
Wow.
My
I
dad.
thought your sister was with you this whole time.
No, so we went back to the house, and my dad, my real dad, locked me out on the porch, and he took my mother inside and unloaded a gun in the back of her head.
Do you
And
remember the day?
I don't. I was 2, and I've had therapy, and I was really scared to go because I was like, "Am I going to remember this? Like, are they going to be able to like pull it out of me?" I don't. So like, I
Mhm.
only know like what family members have told me.
Mhm.
Thank you, Jesus, because I don't think I would want to remember that. But
So as a 2-year-old, y'all go to your home
Mhm.
that you were raised in,
yes,
and your dad tells you stay out on the porch.
well, he locks me outside.
Yeah, he locked you outside as a 2-year-old,
Right,
and you just sit out there by yourself while your mom goes in,
right.
and then he.
Shot her 5 times. Twice was in the back of the head. And then he shot and killed himself. My mother was a fighter. So she crawled over his dead body. And back then you had home phones, right? So she crawled
Landline.
over. Yep. She went to the landline and called her best friend lived across the street.
After 5 shots.
After 5 shots.
How old was your mom? Do you know?
I was 2. So she was 17 when she had my sister. So I'm going to say she was
Early 20s, mid 20s?
22.
Okay.
22,
You're very
23.
young, yeah.
She was so young.
Mhm.
Was your dad the similar age?
3 or 4 years older.
Mhm.
Not quite sure the exact.
How
but
long were
it's
they
fine.
married?
Back then, like, she got pregnant with my sister at 16 or 17. And back then you just didn't get pregnant and not get married. So,
Yeah.
they got married pretty young and early. And I think she was probably an abusive situation from what I've been told.
I'm sure.
Maybe, I'm not sure if it was physical and verbal, but for sure verbal. And so,
Do you remember your dad?
I don't. Not my real dad. No, I don't. So my mom, she crawled to the phone. She told her best friend, like, "Hey, Steve has shot me. Megan's on the porch. Come and get her. I'm not going to make it." And so her best friend came and got me off the porch, and, she fought. She fought. We lived in a small, desolate town that didn't even have a hospital. They had to drive her by ambulance 20 minutes. First the ambulance had to come 20 minutes to get her, then 20 minutes back. It was too serious, so they had to care flight her to Oklahoma City. So that was like, taking another helicopter. So, she fought, and I think she fought for her kids. So my mom was in the hospital probably 30 days and lived through that. That same year, she ended up marrying my dad, Jerry, who raised me and my sister from 2 and 5 and 2 and 6, I guess. Me and my sister are about 4 years apart. And when I tell you an amazing man that was not my dad, he was my stepdad, but it's the only dad I've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
My mom died also. Like, she came back when I was 11, and my sister was 15, I guess, 15. My mother ended up committing suicide. And so my sister has been picked up not once, but twice from school. Me only once. When I was 11, I was in 5th grade. But, my dad could have given us to our aunts, or, he could have given us or pawned us off on somebody else. But he's got 3 kids of his own that, that were older. And we were, it's kind of like he raised us from so small. All the way through, and he didn't. He made a promise to our mother that he would, take care of us, and he did. And
I loved Jerry.
I know he's in a.
I was talking about him last night, actually,
You
and I was
were?
thinking about. The party that you had at your house.
4th of July,
And you had the DJ,
was
and y'all were
dancing.
dancing,
Oh,
and y'all were like, that's like my main thing. Well, he's a jokester,
Oh.
but like just watching y'all dance and just like getting that video of you guys, like,
I know. On my Facebook Messenger, it's like when you go to add a picture, it's it's like the first thing and it's stuck there. So I won't let anything else on my Facebook Messenger, because every time I pull up my Facebook Messenger to like share a picture out of the Facebook Messenger, it's there, that video that you took and so that you shared with me. And so I won't like
It's stuck there?
it's
That's
there.
interesting.
It is. And so like if I want to share something on a Facebook Messenger, I'll go to my photos or whatever and then share it that way. But I want it to just stay there. Like
Yeah.
it's just like my way of like having a God wink. Like
I love
every time I
that.
open, it's almost like you have like amnesia, right? Like
Yeah.
every time, and you're like, you open it up and you're like, oh, I love that. It's
yeah.
like, it's so good.
He was so
but
happy that day.
He was. And, to be honest, like he was a great man but he wasn't perfect, right? Like I put him on a pedestal now and I talk about him like he was larger than life, but he expected a lot. I mean, I would tell you, I tell people, I could be a crackhead on the street with the life I've lived, and the things I've been through, and the things that I've overcame. And, but my dad expected a lot, and a lot of my perfectionism, he ran a company growing up and I watched that and I
Like
watched
a tight
this.
ship.
Oh yeah. Tight ship. Was a warden of a penitentiary. Like it just, like everything business wise, like it's funny how we weren't blood, but like I took on his personality. Like I'm a jokester. I have the type A personality. He expected straight A's, for school.
Environment.
It wasn't where it wasn't if you're going to college, it's where you're going to college. And so it was all those things. But, at the time I probably resented some of those things, but it made me who I am today. And I'm super proud of that.
How do you think like maybe the situation with your real father affected you in your relationships today?
Well, I would say probably not so much my real father. I think even though this is daddy issues, let me
Jerry's
run
your
that
daddy.
back. Right. But for me, for Steve, I think that's like the boogeyman in the closet, because it's like almost something that you would see on Dateline, right? And so when you tell somebody that, you get the initial shock factor.
Your story is
and so,
a whole episode.
Did you ever hold a
So-
stigma with that story? Like, and your, like, did you grow up, like, did everybody from your school, like, you grew up in a small town, like, was there a stigma with you from your parents, or was there
luckily,
not?
No, because luckily we moved from that town.
Okay.
About 5-6 months after my mother passed, we moved away from the town where my dad committed, whatever mess you want to call that. We call it the accident in my family. So it just,
You call it the accident? Why?
I don't know.
Coping mechanism?
I guess maybe, I don't know.
Who calls it that? Everybody?
I don't know. Like maybe only me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I used to hear him on a podcast. This is the first time I've been like, no telling who's going to hear this, but I only tell that story to like people that I'm super close to.
I don't think I heard your story for years after I met you.
Right. Because it's an intimate story, right? And I can tell it at this point
that's
in my
not the
life.
first thing that you open up with, because
No.
people are going to be like, what the heck?
No. But if I,
It just
I feel
sounds
like
so wild.
it
Yeah.
does. You just don't believe it, right? I think that's the boogeyman in the closet, right? I think it's more so like with my kids and knowing like, and being, I think I've lived a life of fear a lot of times, because I always like, you think like, well, that person made me. I'm half of that person. Like, am I a monster? Am I crazy? And, if you're, you go through times, like if you're not with the right person, maybe that person makes you to believe
Or
to
tells
feel
you that you're
right,
crazy.
and preys on your insecurities. And so it needs to be, you only want to tell that or to the right person, because if the wrong person gets a hold of that information, then they can use it against you. Right.
Yeah.
So I think more so like with my mother dying at 11, I think that it's a lot of abandonment. So it's, me and my sister, we were grocery shopping and cutting the yard and cleaning the house, and our dad went to work every day. So here we were, these two little girls doing all these doing the laundry. We did all these things that kids probably that age should not be doing. We carried around a checkbook. They didn't ask for ID back then. Like we would go to this. I was writing checks at 12, 13, 14 years old. And so, yes, it made me grow up like super quick and super fast. But when you're super independent, especially trying to be in a relationship or a marriage, you bring that forward. And so usually by the time I'm trying to ask for help, I'm already spiraling out of control and it's too late. It's too far gone.
Would you say that you've always struggled with anxiety, or would you say that your anxiety stems from your parents?
I do struggle with anxiety. I mean, that is a thing, but I also have learned that it also depends on what situation you're in and what people you surround yourself with. And maybe it's sometimes people that cause me anxiety, or the situation that I'm in causes me anxiety. It was a lot of anxiety just to agree. It took 2 years for you guys to talk me into doing this podcast.
And I'm over here talking about anxiety. I'm like, tell me more about your anxiety.
Yeah, and it's the anxiety of because it's like, okay, this is raw. And yeah, as real as I say that I am, I also have those insecurities, right? Like, I'm human. Like, I am not like some strong person that everything goes okay and everything's butterflies and roses. And no, that is not my life. Like, it doesn't matter. My life is like a lot of tragedy, a lot of grief, a lot of pain. Yes, I've overcome a lot of it, but it still leaves me with, sometimes I tell people like, I'm damaged.
No.
Yeah.
No, it builds character.
No.
It builds character.
I don't think you would be
It builds humbleness.
considered. Nobody is damaged.
Oh, I'm damaged.
I'm
I'm
Yo,
damaged.
Nobody is damaged.
I mean, I love that you say that, and I love that you feel that, but that means I have more work to do on myself, right? Because I feel that way. Like, I feel that, especially like in relationships. Like, I feel like I'm bringing forward, issues from childhood trauma. And then that childhood trauma manifested in relationships and maybe manifested in a marriage. And then, losing a marriage and going through a divorce.
But you go to counseling every single week.
I know.
Hello.
Love her.
Love her.
Love her.
Love
her.
Jenna Kay.
I got a new one.
Oh.
I got a new one. I did. But it's just, I think it's a lot of, I think it's the fear versus the independence, that is what I struggle with, right? Like, it's the fear of like, I don't ever want to be that person. And so like, I don't ever want to be that depressed. I don't ever want to have that much anxiety. I don't ever want to be whatever that was. And so I've lived
So do you think your
life
fear
that
is
way.
like that you will be like them?
Exactly.
Right.
Like, and I don't ever
Aw.
want to like, abandon my kids like I was abandoned. Oh gosh, I'm about
Oh
to
my
cry.
gosh. We just hit a nerve.
I know, right?
There's
so that's
like your little button
right.
right there. So your
Yeah.
fear is that you don't want to
Be like my
leave your
parents.
kids like
And
you were.
I say that, but like when it comes to my mother, like my mother was like strong and resilient and fought through. Could you imagine being 23 years old and having to fight for your life
Yeah.
and like still having 2 kids to raise? I mean, she did the best she could with what tools she was given. And so I had to like, as a kid, it felt a lot of and still feels abandonment. But as an adult, I can look back and realize and
You
look
can
at the
appreciate
That's
her
right.
more.
That's right. Because she made it long enough to get us a dad.
Mm-hmm.
That was amazing.
Oh, give you Jerry.
Yeah.
Love
Love him.
And you had him.
I did for a long time. Up until 2
Right?
years ago, yes.
That's
Yeah.
why I try to appreciate Dean.
You should.
Like now,
Yeah, because
I'm like, at least I have a father.
Yes.
And I was talking to somebody one day and they were like, your parents were thrust into a life that they were trying to survive through,
Mhm.
right?
yeah.
And so they did the best that they could with the tools that and our parents were called the silent generation. So no therapy, no talking about it, no nothing, just do whatever they saw done. And so I remember being like, maybe 25, and I was hanging out at my dad's house, and he comes in there and he grabs me and Chelsea, my younger sister, and he says, hey girls, y'all need to come outside to the guest house. My dad's here. And we were like, because we hadn't met his dad before, little, but not like as adults.
Mm-hmm.
And his dad is very intimidating, very like, I don't know, he just looked
Yeah.
harsher to me, like his personality. And so we walk in there and my dad's like excited. So in my mind, I'm looking at my dad like a child because he looks childlike, right? He's like, come on out and like
He was excited.
see my dad. And he's like super excited. And so we like get up and go out there and we're like, oh goodness, what is going to happen? Chelsea like shit talking, whatever. So we go out there and we walk out and he's like, Dad, this is my daughters. Like, I want you to meet your granddaughters. And he like turns to us really slow and he says, I don't have granddaughters.
Oh my goodness. I can't.
Oh no.
And my
No.
dad, when I made eye contact with my dad, he looks so like embarrassed. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he was gonna cry and he was just like embarrassed. And then he tried to like
Why? Do you know
maneuver
why?
around that and just act like the whole situation didn't happen. And so, but we're all sitting there like trying to make him
Yeah.
feel better. And that was like a big moment for me. Like, okay, I get it. Like this was his
Demons, life and past.
person that he got to look up to,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So he didn't have a whole lot to go off of. And he grew up with stepfathers that weren't good to him and things like that. So I think that's when I learned like more grace. Like, wow, that was his of
And
it.
he loves you guys.
And me and my dad have
Yeah.
great memories
Yeah.
together, right?
So
like me
that's-
and my dad have
It may not be the picture perfect,
we
but
have
it's
blips
beautiful.
in there,
Yeah.
but we have great memories. And I still have my dad. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm going to meet my dad. I remember then like being like, I'm going to meet my dad where he's at and just value like whatever we have left. You know what I mean?
I think that's like, goodness, I get so angry with people that, like Marie probably can feel maybe some of this. Like you see these people and they're like, well, I don't talk to my dad or I don't talk to my mom or I don't, and I get it.
That was me. That was
Yeah.
me in my early 20s. That was me from,
and I
teens
understand
to
there's
just
why.
being that teen. I had other things happen in my life that made me the way I am. Not my parents, but just being angry in general. But then coming back in 20s being like, okay, I'm going to try to appreciate them.
And from your stories, I could see why you wouldn't want to talk to your dad. And I'm like so proud of you for like being able to move past it and growing through that. Like that, I'm like, oh my God, she's amazing. Like, how could she do that? But then I have other, you hear people and they're like, I'll be like, well, why don't you talk to your mom or your dad? And it'll be something stupid. You know what I mean? And so I'll just look them dead in the face and I'll say, you know what? I
Value
don't
it.
have that luxury.
I also have boundaries where I don't overexert myself on things that I don't think he would. You know what I mean? Like I used to. Like I used to go above and beyond or whatever, and I wouldn't feel that reciprocated because he never had that reciprocated for him. So I have to like remember, like I don't have to overly do everything in my power. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'll meet him with the energy that he meets me. And if I feel like I want time with my dad, I'll go out there and have a day with my dad or whatever. Or I'll call and BS with my dad. And like me and my dad I used to think that me and my mom were exactly alike. But now I'm like, me and my dad are exactly alike. Like, and when people see me and my mom, they're like, y'all look so much alike. But then when they see my dad, they're like, never mind, you and your dad are, I think I fought that a lot of my life. And now I'm like accepting it. I'm like, no, I am like similar to my dad. He's very introverted, but he's like a people person. He gets along with everybody. He's like free spirited, like no like structure. Like, does that ring a bell?
Marie, how do you feel like when it comes to, like I just
Like,
get
the
so
thing
angry.
that
Like
with
I'm like
me, especially with social media, just seeing, people growing up with their father and stuff like that triggers me because I'm like, dang. I mean, I had a dad. I
it's
had
just cut short.
it was cut short. And
Now you
even
have
when
Mr. Shelton.
Yeah, even when he was alive, it wasn't enough time because he was
Yeah.
always
Gone.
away.
Okay.
So I'm just really glad that, like what I said, my husband is very present in my kids' lives, very supportive, and and
So do you struggle? Because I'm going to ask you this. Like this is going deep again, but I mean, I feel like we're going deep today. How'd you feel? Because I feel like the big moments, right? Like not having a
Like wedding?
like your wedding, like your dad walking you down the aisle. Like how did that feel for you?
that was hard. Every girl's dream is to have
Right.
their dad walk them down the aisle, but I really think that when Tristan was born, it just gave me that.
It filled the
That-
void.
It
yes,
filled the void.
Yeah.
I can
So
get that.
he's actually named after my father. His middle
Okay.
name is
Okay.
after my father. And so I feel like, going back to that, so like I was raised with all girls. I had 2 sisters and everything. And the first baby I have
As a boy.
is a boy.
Mhm.
So like my son being born, I think it has helped a lot. And that's why it was very important for me to make sure that his father was in his life. I don't know if you guys know this, but me and Trent co-parented for a while. Like we weren't together when
You told me that before you opened
when
up a bit.
Tristan was born. So we put our feelings aside towards each, and just wanted to co-parent healthy
Mhm.
around.
And y'all did.
Yeah, and so
I might need you to talk to me about that.
yeah.
You'll get there.
Send help.
No, because
Raise the red flag, white flag. Is it the white flag? I mean, the white
I
flag.
think it's important though that like we
It's
all
setting
see
your-
the things that we
yeah.
missed and that we're still wanting that
And
for
then
our
that's why I
children.
ended up here. Like I lived in Indianapolis. I moved to Texas because I knew how important it was for my child to have his father in his life. It wasn't enough for him to see him every 2 to 3 months.
Right.
You know, so me moving out here was a big sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know where we were going to end up,
Right.
you know. Thankfully, we decided we decided, you know, we ended up growing. We started dating again.
Mhm.
And now
The rest is
And
history.
look at y'all
Woo!
now.
Yeah.
Couple goals.
So that's why I make it such a huge deal. Like Trent knows how big of a deal it is for me to create family memories. It could be, you know, as simple as just going to the movies together or watching movies together. And I mean, those are the things that children will remember,
Right.
you know?
I know this is daddy issues or daddy day, but I do the same thing. Like
Mhm.
Christmas and Easter, like Carrie knows you're still going to have to come to the Easter egg hunt, Maria,
You
because
got something
it's like
to see.
1,000 eggs, and Christmas is like
Yeah.
it's over the top production.
The
because
whole yard looks like a rainbow.
those
through
are the
it.
memories that I remember from my mother was a great hostess.
Your mom? Oh, okay.
Yes, she was amazing hostess. She would make all the things, you know, all the fudge and the candies, and cooked. She was a baker and did all these things for, you know, Christmas. And so bringing those things forward for your kids, it's like how that lives
Mhm.
on. It's leaving a legacy, you know, like that's what I hope to do, is like leaving a legacy, you know, like I just had a conversation with my son yesterday. It's Christmas, right? And so you know, I'm in the co-parenting phase. I'm separated, and I told my son, I said, look, like you have one dad. Like I wish I could pick up the phone and call Papa, which is what he called my dad. And I'm like, I wish I could call him. You know, I don't have that luxury. Don't take that for granted. Regardless of how someone treats you, you always treat them with respect and kindness, because you need to rise above. You know, and that's not always easy to do, right? Like it's easy to just be mad and say, I'm done and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
That's
And
easier.
that's right. It's so much easier. But, you know, the harder road is a lot of times less traveled. But, you know, the end goal is to make sure that like you stay in tune. And I would tell anybody out there that, you know, if you have a broken relationship with a mother or father or even a sibling or a friend, like, and you think it's worth it, like, make it right. Like, make it right. Yeah, it just.
Or even if like you could make it right, you don't have to deal with them like all the
You
time.
can make it. It'll
But
be
just
boundaries.
make amends,
Right.
Because you don't know when,
Right.
you know, when things are gonna.
Yeah. It's just like everybody's time is,
And
you know.
who has time for drama? So it's just kind of
Well,
like,
it takes more. And what I'm learning is it takes more to hate and be mad
yeah,
and treat you how you're treating me than to just rise above. Like, the easy way out is to just lash back out, right? Like lash back out and give you what you're giving me back. The harder road is to rise above and say, I'm not going to do this, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's with any situation in life. I mean, it's so much easier just
my
to be
husband
like,
has always
"Fuck
said
you."
that it's
There's
No.
a dollar.
yeah.
Is that 5?
I don't know.
That's-
you know.
So my husband always said that it takes so much more energy ignoring somebody than actually acknowledging their
it.
existence.
I could believe that.
So
That is like.
Your husband might know a thing or two about a thing or two, so I'll
Yeah.
take that advice from him.
Mhm. I will too.
I
It's
will.
got some good advice. I'll take it. I'll take it.
All right. Well,
we done with daddy issues? Can we?
we are.
Can
Wrap
I
it up.
Oh
patch
my.
up my makeup? Because
Yeah.
I still probably
Hey,
have cry marks.
We need a cuss jar and we need Kleenexes next time. You
Okay.
got it?
We got our checklist
Okay.
going. That was episode
Socials?
3. I'm so excited. That
Maria,
was fun.
your
And
My turn?
Yeah.
Oh, could you please go like us, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and
YouTube, Twitter.
all
need-
the
we-
things. It's Got Her Back podcast.
That's a wrap, guys.
That's a
Thank
wrap.
you. Bye.